After you've completed your notes on the front side, and we've discussed these in class, you're going to flip your page over to the back where we have our Papel Picado project that's inspired by the movie. So our goal is to create a Papel Picado design, and we will cut that from paper. Designs should have symmetry so that when folded in half, designs can be cut from each side, and we'll talk about a couple of ways to do that. So at the bottom, you're going to use this box below to plan out what you want your design to be. Notice on the side that there's a line and it says 1/2 inch with an arrow from the top to this. We want to leave a little bit of room at the top, especially for this to be folded over so that they can be hung from a string from the ceiling. When you were creating your design, if you wanted to have symmetry that happens at the half, that means that when I draw a line down the middle, the right side will mirror the left. So I only have to actually draw it once because I'm going to be folding my piece of paper in half and cutting those shapes out. So use a pencil to plan this out. Some things to think about. You're using scissors that are going to cut these shapes out of your project paper. Again, this is just a sketch to plan so that you know what shapes you're going to use and what your images are going to look like. You want your shapes to be big because you're going to be using scissors to cut them out. And you also want to think about spacing. If I put two shapes really close together, when I'm cutting that out, that could be difficult or it could rip the paper. So you want to give yourself a good amount of space in between those so that structurally it's not going to fall apart. Once you have your design, then you are going to double check at the bottom. Your sketch is complete. It's balanced, meaning that I'm not going to stick one thing on here and call it done. What makes these really interesting is that they have a lot of shapes cut out. Keep in mind we're using scissors, so it doesn't have to mean that I have to put a shape in everywhere that I'm going to have to cut out, but it needs to be balanced when I look across it, that shapes are spread out and then it fills the space. Repetition of shapes is good, so you can repeat shapes over and over and put them around, but you want to have a variety as well to make it interesting. Remember that it can look like something, but that's going to be a little bit more difficult, and if you keep it a little bit more simple, shapes and abstract things, it's a little easier. When you're done, you're going to take this project paper to me. I want to make sure that you have everything that you need so that you are successful moving forward before you actually start cutting and drawing. And then I'm going to sign this and I'm going to send you to the project paper bin to get some construction paper. Choose a color from the bin that you want to use for your project. Notice this one is my example for class. I've already kind of started it. And so at the top, again, keep in mind you need about 1/2 inch because I'm going to end up taking this and folding it over a string and taping or gluing it so that it stays on the actual rope. So you want to make sure that you leave some space at the top. And then if you have perfect symmetry, meaning at the half, then you're going to take your piece of paper and fold it in half. Match up your corners. Use your hand to crease that along the bottom. Use your pencil, then really lightly, to go in and draw out each of your shapes. Notice that I've drawn light. I've drawn them exactly the way that I want them to. And then I can change this if I want and erase it. Once you're done, then you're going to take a pair of scissors from the bin and we're going to start cutting out those shapes. If you have symmetry, meaning that the right is just like the left, then you're going to be able to fold the paper and cut out from there. So I'm going to take my image using a good pair of scissors from the bin. I'm going to cut these out. Along the fold, it's really easy to cut out shapes because I'm just removing that. But when I have shapes that are farther in, I need to be able to get to those. So, for example, if I have squares or rectangles along the edge, I can take this paper, I'm going to fold it really gently, and then use my scissors to go in and make a slit, so that I can then get my scissors into that area. I'm going to get the ends of them in there and really gently just use the ends of it to snip. And then the more that you open this up, the easier it'll be. Little extras, put them to the side of your table, and then that way at the end of class you can use a dustpan or just kind of group them together and put them in the trash. Alright, so then as I cut out shapes from this side, because it's folded, then it's already cutting those out for me across. And so it has symmetry because, again, the right is the same as the left. It's just a mirror image, it's flipped. So then I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of these. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to make a cut so that I can get my scissors into there and continue to cut those out until I get all of them cut out. When we're done, we're putting our name on them and we're placing them in the turn-in bin for a completion grade.